Hello, welcome to the Ignite Your Light Summit. This is Regina Lovelace, and we have David Breslow with us today. He is a speaker, author, and peak living coach whose clients include pro and amateur athletes, corporations, and the private sector as well. He is known as Mr. Simple because his innovative approach quickly and consistently guides people to achieve the personal confidence and freedom to excel in their lives without the need for recycled tips, vague theories, or overused strategies that most of us already know don't last. So he has appeared on over 150 radio and TV stations, authored 3 books. He's an actor and director, and he is well known for asking this question: why would you waste your time, energy, and money working on aspects of yourself that are already not working in your life? So, welcome, David. We're glad you're here.
Thank you.
And
Thank you very much.
can we start out by asking you why you always ask that question?
Yes, it's an interesting question that most people do not get asked very often. But when I get a phone call from, let's say, a new prospective client who wants
Right.
coaching, they tend to often tell me their story. Almost everybody does this
Right.
because you generally, when you call somebody like a life coach or somebody like that, they will tend to ask you, "So why are you calling? What are the issues?" And then you will start presenting them and telling them what your story is. I lack confidence, or I don't follow through very much, or I let fear get in my way, which we'll talk about in a little bit. Things like that. And yet, when they do that, I ask them, have they spent a lot of time working on those things? And they'll say yes, generally. And I'll ask them, well, how much has it really changed in the last 10 years that you've been working on confidence? And they'll finally kind of admit, well, not that much, a little bit better, but not really where I'd like it to be. And so that allows me to ask the question that you just posed: why would you spend your time working on things that are already not working for you? You already know this thing doesn't work for you, and we'll also get into that more specifically when I talk to you about what I call the circle exercise. And it's really easy to see that many people do spend a lot of time already working on things that they know already aren't working for them, logically thinking that that's going to help them get what they want. Yet, I will get a call from somebody who's working on something for 10, 15 years, and it's clear that what they're doing is not getting them what they want. It doesn't take 10 to 15 years to get confident. It doesn't take 15 years to stop procrastinating. Or it doesn't take 15 years to not allow fear to get in the way. But that's the uninvestigated habit, let's say, that they slip into. And the world kind of supports that. The world will tell you, hey, it takes a long time to change. Hey, you got to keep going to workshops, and you got to keep buying CDs, and you got to keep doing this a little bit at a time, and you'll get better. Well, I'm one of those people that says, wait a minute, that's not true.
Right.
Because if you think that, then it is true. And if you believe it, then it is true. And that's the only reason that it's true. Just because you think that that's the case. But in the personal development arena, like you said, I get called Mr. Simple. I boil things down and say, well, the personal development arena, that's how people get you coming back to buy more stuff, buy more books, because they know you're going to read a little more and get a little bit of improvement. But I swear to you, it doesn't take 10 to 15 years to get what you want. It really doesn't.
So if you don't like the results you're getting, you need to try something different.
Well, yes, and you need to do something that will get you what you want more quickly. That's one of the biggest frustrations I hear from people out in the world, is they have a bunch of tips, bunch of strategies, bunch of theories, bunch of concepts, but they're still not getting what they want. There's not anything very specific that they can implement that will cause change to happen quickly. And that's something that I created probably 15, 17 years ago, called Wired to Win. It's an audio series and the coaching that I do, where I'm teaching insights about human performance. And all I talk about are 7 laws. No tips, no strategies, no theories, no concepts. And people are absolutely blown away because they expect to get tips. And that's one of those things people will ask me about all the time. And my first question will be, have you used tips before? Everybody says yes, right? And then my question is, how long do they last? You mentioned it in the bio, in the introduction. The most common answer I hear is, Not that long. And of course, my question then is, then why would you ask me for the same thing that you already know doesn't work? You think my tips are going to be better than somebody else's? I don't know. So that's part of my job. Part of my job is to kind of slap people's consciousness metaphorically and say, wake up. You got the proof right in front of you. 15 years, excuse me, you've been working on this one particular issue. 15 years. Clearly, all the tips, all the strategies, all the things you've gone for, paid for, spent time, energy, and money on have not gotten you what you want. Are you willing to admit that? Eventually, they will say yes. And then that's what leads me into the 7 laws conversation, because there is no need for tips. There is no need for strategies and theories. They're undeniable and they're provable. You can't escape them. All you can do is run and hide if you want, but they're still governing everything you do. Right. And that's why I like talking about them.
Yeah, it's like a dog on the cuff of your heel. You can pretend like it's not there, but it's still gnawing at you.
Yeah, they're still running the show.
Yep.
You can do whatever you want, but doesn't change anything. It's like saying, hey, I understand gravity, but it works in my basement, but probably not in the 3rd floor of my house. Sorry, it's a law. It works everywhere, every time, exactly the same. That's why I like talking about them.
Yeah, and the good thing about laws is that they are provable. You can try them out, test them out, and they work.
Well, yeah, that's the beauty of them, because in most formats, in most structures out there, life coaching, counseling, therapy, whatever it might be, they have a process. And as the client, you get to choose. If you can like it, you can have opinions about it. There's a learning curve. You hear things, you take it in, you play with it, you edit it, you keep what you like, you drop what you don't like. That's a normal learning curve, right?
Right.
With the laws, you don't get a chance to do that. And that's why I like talking about them, because they're functioning no matter what you think. They don't care what you believe. They don't care if you agree with them. They don't care if you understand them. They are still functioning. And a very simple example for that is, let's say you and I are up in an airplane and we're going to go parachuting, okay? The door opens, and of course I'm going to let you go first because I've never done it before. And you walk over to the door, and before you step out, you say to me, hey, Dave, I don't believe in gravity. Never have, never will. And you're like really adamant about that. I'm just going to look at you and go, okay, fine. What's going to happen to you when you step out of that plane?
I'm going to drop.
You're going down. So the point is that gravity, excuse me again, does not care what you believe. It doesn't care whether you're a male or female, young, old, your personality type, your income level, your geography. No factors whatsoever influence the way gravity functions. And everybody gets that. What they don't get is that their life is governed by laws that are just as precise, just as predictable, just as undeniable and provable as gravity. And that's where I begin. Where most coaches, 99%, are talking about strategies. You tell them your problem, and you say, hey, okay, confidence is my problem. They'll probably say, all right, here are some strategies to start building your confidence over the next few months. Well, that's what I call coping mechanisms. And since I prove everything I talk about, all you need to do is go to the dictionary and look up the word cope, C-O-P-E. Here are the synonyms you will find. Things like to deal with, to manage, to handle, to get by, to struggle with, and to survive. And every time I tell people that, I just say, look, is that what you aspire to do?
Right.
To deal with things better? To handle things better? To survive? And they all say no. I said, well, that's what you're doing. When you get coping mechanisms, that's all you're doing is you're teaching yourself how to cope with the garbage that's going on in your life. So I'm also known for this simple question. Are you more interested in handling the stuff, the story you just told me about your life better, or are you interested in creating something new starting tomorrow? Every time I ask that question, there's a hesitation. I can hear it. People are wondering, did he really ask me that? And
is that
it
a
sounds like I'm
choice?
a mind reader because I just bust in and go, yes, he did.
Yeah.
And then they start laughing. Are you reading my mind? No, I'm not. It's just that that's what everybody seems to do.
Right.
Yes, he did ask you that. I asked you that very simple question because your tendency is to think your story is everything. You just told me this really amazing story that's not working for you, thinking that I'm now going to help you with the stuff that's not working. Back to that first question, right? Why would you want to deal with the stuff that's already not helping you? Why don't you go start to learn, number one, that you're actually created 85 to 90% of the stuff you just told me about, but you don't know that. By law, you created that, and you don't know that yet. And number two, why don't you start creating something new instead of trying to fix what's already not working? And people generally go, oh, can I do that? Yeah. Do you want to? Yeah, that would be better, wouldn't it? Yes, it would. So, I am known as Mr. Simple because people often say to me, geez, you make it sound so simple, Dave. You know, I'm over here and I have all this stuff going on and I want to be over there and you make it sound like it's so simple. And of course, my response to that is, well, you make it sound like it's really hard. Who do you want to believe, you or me? It's up to you. You want to believe it's hard? Guess what? You've already proven that. Go on your way and watch how much harder you can make things in your life. Or you want to try something new, you want to expand your mind a little bit and see that you actually, by law, are producing all the things you just complained about. And I can prove it to you. And then you can use those very same laws to create what you want. And that's where we begin. So it is a bit different than life coaching. A lot of people will say to me, oh, you're a life coach. And I'm not. My response to that sounds a little bit arrogant, maybe, but what I generally say is, no, I eat life coaches for breakfast. And then they look at me and go, what the heck does that mean? Is your ego that big? He said, no, I'm just trying to make a point. I'm sure I'm not the only one on this planet having this conversation, but in 20 years, I honestly have not met anybody. Every life coach I meet, every therapist, counselor, sports psychologist, because I work with a lot of athletes, will tell me that they come from the psychological perspective. So it's all the research data about confidence, and here's what we've learned, and here are the tips. Just breathe and think of a good memory. All great tips, but the problem is all that information is going on to a person who's already being messed up by their past and their current conditions. And that will get more clear when we get into that circle exercise. Maybe now's a good time. I don't know.
Yeah. Do you want to do that? Let's jump in.
Yeah, it's kind of a nice segue. So okay. I kind of boxed myself and you into that corner. Perfect. Sorry about that.
No, that's good.
Here's why what most of us do doesn't really work. So if everybody can grab a piece of paper and a pen or pencil, this is an interactive little exercise I'd like to do with you very quickly.
All right.
On your paper, and you as well. I'd like you to do it with me, if you don't mind.
Yep.
On your paper, draw a horizontal line halfway down, just separating the upper and lower half.
Okay.
Doesn't have to be exact. In the upper half, draw a circle that fills most of the space, and do the same thing on the lower half. So you now have circle 1 on top and circle 2 on the bottom. Yes?
Okay. Yep.
Okay. Circle 1 represents your current conditions. So you could write that in the margin by the circle somewhere. My current conditions. And here is where I'm going to ask you, and I hope everybody's following along. Here is where I'm going to ask you to write 1 to 3 things and place them inside the circle that you believe are currently obstacles for you getting what you want. And that could be anything. Anything you want to be, do, or have in the world differently than what you be, do, or have now. So it could be things like confidence, or I fear, or I procrastinate, or I negative talk myself down, low self-esteem, low self-worth. Could be any of those kinds of things. I only rattle them off because they're generally the most common.
Okay.
So 1 to 3 is fine. So good so far?
Yep, I've got 3.
Okay. Now, the second circle on the bottom we'll call the circle 2 what I want. what I want. So you can write that in the margin, in the little space you may have. And inside that circle, I'm going to ask you to list 1 to 3 things that you really want. They could be the opposite of what you wrote in circle 1, or they could be something else. You could maybe want $100,000 a year in income, and you didn't write money in the top circle. Doesn't matter. You want a house in the French Riviera? I don't know. It doesn't really matter. Just 1 to 3 things that you believe will make you happy. Because you know that's the only reason we want anything is because we think it's going to make us feel good.
Right.
So, good so far?
Yeah, I have one anyway, but that's good.
Okay. Here's what this little exercise is really showing now. Notice that the 2 circles do not touch each other, correct?
Right.
They are 2 separate entities. And here's what I call the logical error that most of us make when we want to improve ourselves. We look at circle 1, and our logical mind says, I wrote confidence in there. I'm lacking confidence. So my logical mind says, I should probably work on that. I should probably improve that, right?
Right.
Makes total sense, doesn't it? But it doesn't. Because here's what happens. You start working on your confidence. Number 1, where's your focus on your lack of confidence?
Right.
So you make that even bigger. Number 2, when you start working on it, you get a bunch of tips and strategies, you buy books or whatever you might do, and all you're doing is moving that needle a little further toward the edge of circle 1.
Okay.
And that's why it takes people so long, because circle 2 is still sitting over there, and you're not in it yet, right?
Right.
Now, Einstein, you heard of him, right? Yes?
A few times.
He came up with a quote. He didn't know about this, but he came up with a quote that I think fits this perfectly. He said something like, you cannot solve a problem using the same mind that caused the problem in the first place.
Yeah.
So guess what circle 1 is? It's your
problem.
old mind.
Okay.
And the only thing that's in there is your current experience, all of your history, all of your attitudes, all of your poor beliefs, all of your limiting fears and doubts and poor self-image. All that stuff is in circle 1. Now think about this. You're trying to use that garbage to get into circle 2, and it will not work. Not because I say so. It will not work. Look at your own life. You got the experience to prove that what I just said is true. As long as you're hanging out in circle 1 will never get you into circle 2, which is what you really want.
So you
it
can
will
be
never
really close.
get you there.
Be really close, but it's a different circle. Okay.
You can get closer to the edge, but you're not in it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why it takes somebody 10 to 15 years, because they keep creeping toward the edge of circle 1, but they keep complaining that they want to be in circle 2. So I'm sitting here going, why don't we just start in circle 2? What is the point of hanging out in circle 1? Go to therapy, go to life coaching. They'll hang out there with you in circle 1, and they'll try to clean all that up. But guess what? You still got to get into circle 2 at the end of all that.
So how do you just start in circle 2?
Well, that question is not best answered in this forum.
All right.
That question is best answered by going through the 7 Laws program,
okay.
which I'm not selling here in this conversation. But anybody who takes advantage of the free gift that I'm offering will have access to that.
Okay.
Because the question you just asked me kind of begs, without realizing it, a quick answer, right? How do I get into circle 2?
Right.
Okay, I can be a wise guy and say, well, just start there. Okay, start what? I don't know.
Right.
The answer is, if you understand the laws by which you create everything in your world, you can be in circle 2 immediately. When I have the laws conversation with people, the very first law, they're immediately in circle 2 right from then. Right from the very first law. That's how you get into circle 2. Otherwise, an answer to that question is another tip, another strategy, which you're going to hang up the phone and you're going to walk around and go, okay, now what do I do? Which is the problem for most people. They listen to these kinds of things. Somebody throws out a nice little tip or a cute acronym about something. Everybody feels good for a minute, and then they go back in their lives and go, Okay, now what do I do? Oh, yeah, that's right. That expert said to smile and be happy. Okay, that's the kind of stuff you hear everywhere, but it doesn't last. That's the problem. And this is the other point I wanted to make about the two circles. When somebody hears new information, you have to know that that information is being taken into their circle one garbage. All of their old circle one stuff is the one that's taking that in. So it's being filtered, which is why it doesn't affect them quickly the way they want it to, because it's going through all their circle one resistance.
Right.
Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's really happening. So if you're in circle two, and circle two really represents all possibilities. But none of the limitations in circle one exist in circle two. They just don't. So when you're in circle two, your mind is much clearer. You absorb things much better. You listen much easier. You communicate much better. Everything you do is coming from a place of, hey, now I know I'm conscious. Now I want to create this. I don't need to slip back into my circle one habit now. So you start making brand new choices right away from law one, because law one is the law of awake and asleep. And in that law, I get to prove to people just how much they're walking through life asleep, unconscious, to where circle one is constantly running the show. They think the same things, feel the same way, talk the same way, do the same things time and time again. You cannot be in circle two while you're doing all that stuff in circle one. So law number one wakes them up immediately. The second they're awake, they're in circle two. And all of a sudden they're making brand new choices in situations where they used to spend money on workshops and CDs to help teach them how to make new choices when they're pressured or stressed or whatever the situation may be. Now they're doing it consciously, automatically, because they understand this law is in play. It's really a lot of fun for me, I got to tell you. It's a very different conversation.
And then the other 6 laws occur in the second circle. They're associated with the second circle.
They don't occur in the second circle. They put you in the second circle.
Okay.
The laws are occurring all the time, just like gravity.
I just didn't know if there were different laws that applied to circle 1 and circle 2. So, okay, they apply everywhere.
There are 7
Universal laws.
They apply everywhere you go.
Okay.
To everybody. There are no factors that prevent them from happening. 0. That's why I love talking about them, because it takes all of your circle one garbage out of the equation. Nobody ever says to me, oh, that's not true, David. That's not true for me. Nobody. Because they are so obviously happening, it's not funny.
Yeah.
That would be, again, like saying that gravity is not true for me. It's true for you, but it's not true for me. Really?
Right. Give it a
it's
try.
not possible.
Test it
Not
out.
possible.
See how it goes. So with your free offer, does it go through the first law, and then we can get on your website to find out more?
No, it does not. My free offer has nothing to do with the laws.
Okay. So do you want to tell us about your free offer?
Yes, the free offer is my brand new book that just came out about a week ago, called Momentum, 8 Simple Truths to Propel Your Life Forward.
That's great.
Now, these are not laws, they're simple truths. That's all I do is deal in truths and laws.
Right.
It is the most valuable thing I've put out, and I want to give it away now. So what happens is, you have the link. When people go to my website, on the home page, there's an opt-in box for them to put in their name and email address. Then they get the 8 truths sent to them in their email box, 1 a day, for the next 8 days. And through that, if you're interested in the 7 Laws program, you can link into it through the book. There are links in there that will take you there if you're interested.
Okay.
But this particular book is really got a ton of value. It's actually like a little workbook. It's giving you insights about the truths and then asking you some questions for you to fill in the blank. And it really wakes you up to look at your own life and see how true these truths really are, and that there's no half measure to them. Again, why I like talking about them. There's no I'm kinda doing this or sorta doing this. No, you're either doing it or you're not.
Right.
And that's the way the truths are phrased. Your relationships are either supporting you or they're not. You're either confident or you're not. Those kinds of things. Those are very simple truths. And a lot of people are walking around the planet kinda confident, their relationships are kind of supporting them,
Right.
and that's just not good enough.
Yeah.
Why would you do any of these things halfway?
Why
So this particular book, it doesn't really matter what your life interest is. If you're an athlete, or you're a corporate person, or you're an entrepreneur, or you're an actor, or you're a stay-at-home mom or stay-at-home dad, every one of these truths is relevant to you. Every single one of them. And if you find it interesting enough and you want to go deeper, I allow folks to do that, to get into the 7 Laws audio program that I have, which is available to everybody on the planet. And people have been using it for years with great success.
And remind us of your website where they can find that. I know it's in the free gift too, but in case they want to jump there.
Yeah, the website is my name. Very easy. www.dave, not David, Dave, D-A-V-E, Breslow, B as in Baker, R-E-S as in Sam, L-O-W.com. And you'll see it right on the page. It'll pop up, the little box with a little video of me talking about it for a couple minutes. And then all you got to do is put your name and email in the box and look in your inbox on your email, and there it is. It's all there for you. Well, that's all you got to do. Basically nothing.
Thank you.
And it's yours.
Well, good. And I know earlier you mentioned talking more about fear. I don't know if you've said all that you want to say about that.
Oh, yeah. Excuse me again. Let me leave some folks with a little actual exercise to do.
Okay, great.
Fear is very common. And I have an interesting take on fear, of course. Part of what makes me Mr. Simple, I guess, is that fear is mismetabolized. Fear is actually excitement turned inside out. So if you got your pen and paper handy, folks, write that down. Fear is excitement turned inside out. We have learned over time to mismetabolize it and turn it backwards and upside down. So here's a little thing you can try. Anytime you feel any fear about anything, ask yourself this question. What am I excited about right now? The second you do that, your mind will create a little open window, because your answer will be, let's use a common example is, I used to work with some guys who would tell me, I get really nervous. I go to a bar and I see a nice looking woman sitting over there and I get really nervous. I want to go talk to her. So they have fear. And so this conversation comes up. So I say, okay, you mismetabolize fear, and all you experience is the doubt and the emotional response you have to that mismetabolized thing about fear. Yeah, I don't even get up. I get stuck. That's what happens to a lot of people. So I have them do this exercise. Next time you feel any level of fear, I said to him, ask, what am I excited about right now? And I played it out with him. I said, what are you really excited about when that scenario happens? Well, I'm excited about, actually getting up and walking over there. Yeah. I'm excited about the possibility that she may actually talk to me, and excited about the possibility that she may even say, okay, I'll have a drink with you, or go out on a date with me. Great. So you're excited about 3 or 4 things, aren't you? Yeah. But you don't think about those things when the fear hits, do you? No. That's because you don't ask the question. It's a check-in question. I'm real big on check-in questions because they shift everything. So then the guy goes and does it, and he comes back and he tells me, oh, yeah, it was great. I was sitting with my buddies, and they all laughed at me, and I got up and I walked over there, and she shut me down. And so I walked back to the table, and all my friends are picking on me. And what the guy said, though, was what was most important. He said, you know what, Dave, it really didn't matter. Because what happened was, I at least stood up and went over there. And I was so darn happy about that it wasn't really about whether she said yes or no. It was about that I crossed over a line that used to hold me back. That was more worth it than anything. I said, now you got it, dude. Yep. That's the purpose of the little exercise. It's not the outcome that's important. It's the fact that you easily cross over the line, because what you're excited about is actually more interesting than the other side of that equation. So it really doesn't matter where you use this. You could be talking to somebody. You could be in the supermarket. You could maybe have to confront somebody. and not everybody is comfortable confronting other people. But ask yourself, what am I really excited about right now? Same thing. I want to skydive in my life. I haven't done it yet. And I know darn well when I'm up in that plane and I got my parachute on and that door opens, I'm going to feel some pretty good fear. Pretty darn sure. And that's okay. And I know I'm going to ask myself the question, Dave, what are you really excited about right now? I already know. I'm excited about free falling. I'm excited about having that feeling that I've heard other people say is just unimaginable. It's just, you can't have it in your daily life. I'm excited about doing something that I've been afraid of doing for so long. Several things are exciting about it. So even in mundane situations, I'll bet that people can come up with something that they're actually excited about in that moment. Try it. This exercise really, really works.
That's great, and it's simple. That's why.
Yes, yes. That's where I got the name from, because people are like, come on, man, I've been afraid for years. Now you're telling me if I just do this? Yeah, I am.
Yeah, give it a try. Well, great, and we are out of time. I don't know if you have any last words of wisdom you want to share.
Yeah, I guess my last words of wisdom are, and you've probably heard this before, everything you need is already within you. And if you get yourself out of circle one, you can feel the freedom you've always been looking for. And just understand that the reason all this stuff keeps happening to you is because you still exist in circle one, where that keeps playing out.
Well, great.
Out of that circle, your life changes.
Yep. So everyone go to davebreslow.com and learn more about how to get in circle 2. So thank you so much for your time, Dave. We appreciate that.
My great pleasure. Thank you for having me.
We'll sign off. Bye-bye.
Bye.